Factorial notation is something that you'll see often when you're working with probability or working with counting. It is a simplified way of writing a repeated multiplication. For instance, if you multiply 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, instead of writing those 6 numbers multiplied together, you can just write 6 with an exclamation point. That's read 6 factorial, and it saves you a lot of time and energy. So it's very useful, and it shows up in lots of branches of mathematics, but particularly in probability and counting. Now, 0 factorial is equal to 1 by convention. 1 factorial is equal to 1. And you might also notice it's equal to 1 times 0 factorial. Keep an eye on these expressions in the parentheses as we go. 2 factorial is equal to 2 times 1, which is 2, or 2 times 1 factorial. 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1, which is 6. It's also equal to 3 times 2 factorial. You notice in all of these, the previous factorial is built in. So here we just took 2 factorial and we multiplied it times 3 to get 3 factorial. To get 4 factorial, we take 3 factorial and we multiply it times 4, and we get 24. If we take 4 factorial and multiply it times 5, we get 5 factorial, which is 120. 6 factorial is 720, 7 factorial is 5,040, 8 factorial is 40,320, and the factorials get bigger and bigger as you go. And you notice that they get very, very big very, very quickly. By the time you get to about 69 factorial, your calculator won't be able to handle it. And that's something that tells you how big factorials get. Now, in general, if you want to write a recursive definition for a factorial, you could say n factorial is equal to 1 if n equals 0, and is equal to n times the previous factorial, n minus 1 factorial, if n is greater than 0. Now, these factorials get very, very big very, very quickly, and any factorial greater than 68 factorial is going to be greater than 10 to the 99th power. That'll overflow your calculator. If you want to calculate a factorial on your calculator, it's pretty easy to do. What you have to do is type the number first. So say you want 18 factorial. You type 18, and then you go to Math, hit the Math button, and then go over to PRB, Probability menu, and select number 4 off that list. And then it'll put the factorial sign next to the 18, and when you press Enter, it'll calculate this factorial, which is 6.4 times 10 to the 15th power. It's a huge number, and we're only up to 18 factorial. Okay, if you do, say, 70 factorial, you get an overflow message. It's an error. The calculator can't handle any number bigger than 10 to the 99th power, so this number is way too big for that. So you see factorial notation a lot when you're working with permutations, combinations, probability in general. It's very, very common.